Does America feel great again?
No, not at all. I can get laid off tomorrow, then I'm pretty much homeless because you can't save now. Every dollar you have has to go to gas, groceries, bills, rent.
Does America feel great again?
Um, Not in the way everyone wanted. With gas prices and you can't afford to breathe at this point.
What does it feel like to be living in these conditions right now, in these economic conditions right now?
Hurt, very hurt. I try to do, sorry, I cried. I try to do a lot for my kids and I can't do much.
It's hard, especially as a father, because you ain't got that extra cash to go and spoil your kids. So it's pretty difficult.
The middle class is definitely being affected. Yeah. Low class might as well, crawl in a hole because they can't afford anything. Drill, baby, drill just didn't go, I don't think.
You still can't beat inflation, no matter what. Well, it seems we never catch up, no matter what. We're always behind the eight ball.
How are all of you doing who decided to vote for Donald Trump in this past election? I vividly remember the day after Donald Trump got elected. There were so many people on this app dancing around saying that they're no longer going to get drafted, that they are going to be able to afford the house, that they are going to be able to afford more things and have an easier life now that he has gotten elected. We are essentially a year and a half into his presidency. We are at war. We are seeing gas prices skyrocket. Things are not getting cheaper. Our grocery bills are especially not getting cheaper. So I'm just curious, to those that genuinely thought that their lives were going to be better when Donald Trump got elected, how do you feel right now? Have things gotten better for you? Have things gotten worse? Have you noticed a difference in your life, especially when it comes to spending?
Trump voters are literally now breaking down after seeing the rise in prices in the United States of America. They're on the verge of tears. This is real. People need to see this. And before you ask, yes, this is my improvised microphone, my daughter's foot.
I was hoping that gas was going to go down so I could do something, You can't do anything with gas prices and you can't afford to breathe at this point.
Are you regretting your vote right now?
I have the past 2 years, yeah, I have. I'm actually not even voting the next time.
So it's clear that we are watching the fall of the American empire in real time. And there is a stark difference in the way that the white community is responding and how the black community is responding. The black community en masse has completely withdrawn. They fought, they campaigned, they warned us, and we chose the orange man anyway. And they're out. The white community, on the other hand, is fighting. Those of us who aren't under Trump's spell. And there is this real sentiment that if we can just get Trump out of the way, then we can all get back to normal. But the thing is, that's not what God is doing. And I'm not a nihilist, but we're missing the point. The point is this white supremacist system has wreaked enough havoc. Enough. And God is judging it. And the fact that we are clinging so hard to it makes me wonder, what does the black community see that we don't, that's allowing them to totally let go right now?
Believe me, if Donald Trump is president again, at some point or another, that ugliness will touch all of our lives. And it will not matter what you look like, how you worship, who you love, or how you vote. If you don't make 6 or 8 or 12 figures, if you're not famous, if you criticize or disagree with him in any way, if he doesn't view you as his equal or relevant to his ambitions, I promise you, he will not think about you when he gets into the Oval Office. Let me take a minute to help folks, especially the men in our lives, to get a better sense of what could happen if we keep dismantling parts of our reproductive care system piece by piece, as Trump intends to do. There are good reasons why so many women and physicians are horrified by what's happened since Donald Trump's justices overturned Roe v. Wade. We're seeing women scrambling across state lines to get the care they need. Just this week, a major medical journal reported that after Roe was overturned, infant mortality in this country rose, in large part because women are being forced to carry fetuses that won't survive to term. One woman spent 22 days in jail on murder charges after she miscarried in her own bathroom.
Do you regret your vote right now?
Well, between him and her, I thought he was the better choice, but honestly, I miss my Uncle Joe. I was a nobody, and I was balling then. Now, I couldn't even tell you. I couldn't even show you $5 in my pocket.
We spoke to Trump voters here in Florida who are ticked off about the fact that the gas prices in the state have gone up by an average of about 60 cents within just a week.
I would just wish he'd keep up on his campaign promise and say he was going to put it under $3. He'd end that war so fast, but here it is, 5 years later, helping his buddy out get his more money, and then never mind charging us Americans all sorts of money for fuel that you just stole from Venezuela.
And those gas prices are getting higher because of volatile oil prices due to the war in Iran, a war that these Trump voters tell us they hope wraps up quickly.
If I could, speak to the president, I'd just encourage him to finish up this war and get us back to a safe world.
He's saying about for our safety, leave somebody alone, they won't bother you.
Hopefully this conflict over there will end, it's just unfortunate.
The overall vibe here at the gas pump amongst these Trump voters is they feel like the economy is not going well right now.
At the moment, I'm really out of work.
My hope is that it's temporary and it doesn't last for too long and oil prices come back down. That's my hope.
The American empire is on full display. Mask totally off. And who do you think we should turn to for wisdom on how to resist? Because there's a community in this nation that has been targeted by this empire from the beginning, and that has resisted this empire from the beginning. And that's the Black community, and particularly Black Christians. And there's a reason why they're resting right now, and they're pulled back right now, because I believe the Lord is strengthening them to lead in this upcoming season. Because nobody knows the empire like targets of the empire. And nobody sings, "We shall overcome," like those who have come out of the furnace of affliction.
Ever notice how most white people are very silent about racism? They're quiet about calling it out when they see it. They refuse to talk about it in everyday life, but then proceed to say, yeah, I treat everybody the same. I'm not racist. I love everybody. When they see injustices, when oppression cannot be ignored, they manage to do just that, pretend like it's not happening, for their comfort. When you don't speak up on something, when you pretend it's not as big of an issue as it actually is, when you say, I'm a good person, I treat everybody the same. So what these other white people are doing to harm and oppress other people has nothing to do with me, so I can stay quiet and just allow it to happen. That is prioritizing your comfort over justice. That is what's keeping this whole system that white people designed alive. This whole racial hierarchy. And you are scared of rejection from other white people, if you're scared to talk about these things, if you're scared to be vocal, if you're scared for people to cut off contact with you or to remove you from a friend on social media, if you're scared to be scapegoated yourself, you are fully responsible for keeping the system alive. The injustices that people of color experience are your fault, just like the rest of the majority of white people. You are not better than someone who is racist themselves because you allow it. You allow it. And if every single one of us that claims to not be racist went and took a stand, became vocal, didn't hide to protect themselves. There was uproars when a rich white person was just let go with a warning when they committed a hate crime, and we made big deals about these things because we genuinely cared. It wouldn't happen anymore. We held racist people accountable. If none of us tolerated it, No, the ones that said they're not racist. If we didn't tolerate other racists, I think we can end this whole racial hierarchy thing going on. We held cops and judges accountable. If we punished hate crimes to the fullest extent. If we had a zero tolerance policy for racism. If every racist person was blasted online by other white people. We took a stand and said we are no longer enabling other white people just because we don't want to be rejected by them. I think that this country could look a lot different. Nobody wants to do anything. Nobody wants to do anything. They want to pretend like they're doing something. They want to pretend like they care. But everybody moves about with their ego in mind. Everything is me, me, me. What will happen to me if I do this? What will happen to me if I'm vocal? What will happen to me if I'm an outcast? Who cares? Who cares if you're scapegoated? Who cares if you're an outcast? Do what's right. I just can't stand how weak people are.
So since this seems to be a topic of conversation on TikTok right now about how Black Americans are choosing to opt out of being on the front lines against everything that's going on with this stuff that's outside, that starts with I, white and non-white people alike have felt comfortable coming to the internet to say that Black people should not be sitting out of it on this one. And I want you guys to really think about what you're saying, because Black people have never had the option to opt out, and they are not really opting out now. They're just choosing not to be on the front lines because when they're on the front lines, only more brutality comes after that, and people die and nothing changes, and they've been fighting forever. If you really fucking think about it, Black people have never stopped being a target. Just because other people are targets now does not mean that Black people are still not a target. Do you know what I mean? Don't you think if they could sit this out, that they would sit out police brutality too? Also, they have, like I said earlier, they've been fighting this fight for a long time. And guess who didn't care? Guess who said maybe you should follow the law, maybe you should be a criminal, maybe you should XYZ, finding every excuse in the book to justify the killings of innocent Black people all over. So yeah, that's really rich. That's really rich for you guys to be telling Black people that they need to be up and fighting. They have been fighting. They fight every single day of their lives. When they go outside, there is no guarantee that they are going to be safe from police brutality or just any type of brutality from the government, like in like the prison system, like the judicial system, etc. These are all things that they cannot opt out of.
Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Nishika and we are talking about Black Americans, why they are not complaining. That's what the question the Maga voters are asking, because they are saying the economy is so difficult. They're finding their lives so difficult to manage. But when they look at the Black people in America, especially the Black Americans, they're wondering how they're surviving. Why aren't they complaining? So please, let's watch this video and then we're going to discuss much more at the end. Please subscribe to my channel. Welcome.
Black exceptionalism is such a double-edged sword to me, because on the one hand, yes, Black excellence is fucking incredible, it's amazing, and we should always amplify and uplift people who have these amazing accomplishments. But on the other hand, why does it feel like, as a Black person in America, the only way you can basically validate your existence is if you are exemplary in your field? White people are allowed to be mediocre in every way, shape, or form, but never us.
So can we talk for 1 second about white comfort and how a lot of Black Americans run from their power because they're scared to scare white people? As Black Americans, we've internalized white people's standards of how people should be, of how people should act, not realizing that they operate on a system of fear, of trying to avoid natural consequences, of stealing, of killing people, and of not playing fair in this world. We don't share the same history as them. We don't share the same karma as these people. So when we're playing the game, when we're operating in society, I'm not saying act a fool or completely disregard social norms, but what I am saying is do what you have to do, but also if a rule needs to be broken, break it. You're not breaking a rule, you're following your natural guidance system. You have to trust your natural guidance system, because this realm, this system was not created for us to win. This system was not created for us to thrive. You know what I mean? They pretty much gave us the blueprint of how to act, how to speak, how to dress, how to show up, and called it laws, and called it, oh, the social norm. This is what everybody does. This is just normal. When in all actuality, they're trying to force us to operate in a way to keep them safe. They want us to operate in a way that doesn't spark any inspiration of a revolution. Like,
why are Black people saying this is not our fight making you upset? I've seen video after video from Latino creators or Latino people coming online pleading to Black people to put our bodies at the forefront of this fight against illegal ICE raids, against deportation, against roundups, against undocumented people being rounded up and families being disjointed. But there's several reasons as to why you should not be shocked that black people are sitting this one out. You guys all remember that this is a subset of your community last year. You're also aware that across the board, overwhelmingly black people voted in favor of the candidate that had black interests, Latino interests, Asian interests at heart. Where if you look at the sentiments of what that vote represents, half of your community voted for this. Half of your community said F you to black people. Half of your community said, we don't care about you. Half of your community said you wanted to be white aligning and white adjacent. And now you're being reminded of the fact that you're not. We have to have the ability to hold multiple truths when we speak to each other as communities. The truth is that Latinos are not in a monolith. It's just an all-encompassing umbrella that they put you under. And that, yes, the majority of the people that voted for Donald Trump and were doing that were Cuban and were other people in different parts of the country, and undocumented people in Mexico, in California are being impacted by that. That is true. But what's also true is that there is a history of black people fighting and being at the forefront of civil rights in this country since the inception of civil rights in this country. And it's always been pushback and non-solidarity from multiple communities who are voting and always going against black people. So this particular time when black women especially really came out in droves and really fought forward with our votes, and you guys didn't do it, your community didn't do it. It's like, why would I fight now? Why would I fight now? So I just need you, like, if you're gonna come online and make pleas and ploys to black people, because I've seen so many videos, start by acknowledging the fact that your community has colorism, anti-blackness, and voted against your own best self-interest. Start with that. Don't come in here and ask black people just to put our bodies at the forefront of the line, because we've been doing that for a century. Secondly, I think the majority of black people who are saying that they're sitting this one out are using their voice in other ways or having solidarity with you in other ways, but they're not going to protest. They're not going to go get hit by rubber bullets. They're not going to put themselves in harm's way or make that effort again, because you guys, it's time for you to fight for yourself. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense for you. Now, there's also a bunch of black people online who are asking black people to come out and fight for everyone, and everyone needs to fight, and this is our fight as well. While I do agree with a lot of those sentiments, because if they're doing it to brown citizens, they can do it to black citizens, and they can use the Congo and Haiti as an excuse to just racially profile all of us. That's very true. But you have to stop telling black people to put themselves on the line when black people are exhausted. Black people are exhausted. Black people have done so much for all communities in this country. At a certain point, there has to be a time where they need to rest. And right now, a bunch of people are resting, and that's fine. But there will always be people in our community who fight. Like, I'm using my voice every fucking day on this app. I've made an update about every single thing going on with ICE raids, locations, where they are, what's happening with Trump. I do it every day on my social page, and it's exhausting. Like, I'm actually exhausted. Today I put up like 10 posts. I'm exhausted, but I'm doing it because I know my voice has reach, and I know that people need to hear it. And that's my personal choice. I'm not doing it because I feel obligated. So stop trying to make people feel obligated to put themselves on the line again. I say that to say it's a lot of fucked up shit happening in this country. I know that people and families, I was in tears last night seeing people self-deport themselves and people getting rounded up, grandfathers and grandmothers and abuelitas getting taken away, who are the people who are the fabric of this city in LA. But I just know that it doesn't end here, and there are black people on that list. There are black countries on that list. There are black countries on that list, and I'll say that to you again. There are black countries on that list.
So I just seen a video, right? It's a white guy, seemingly intelligent white guy, was talking about the response between different racial groups, specifically the white community and the black community. He is putting emphasis on how historically in times like this, how we have always reacted differently from the white community. He is noting, which he is right, that we as a people are very indifferent about the things that are going on right now. We have been fighting and we have been advocating against this machine for years, decades. I mean, before my existence. And now we're at a point to where things seemingly looks irreversible, or we have washed our hands with this. And there are whites that are fighting, righteously so. There are whites that are fighting for the core values and principles that this nation was supposedly founded on. There are people that still believe in America and the foundations of that. Us as a whole, we have never really seen many benefits from that. So that's why we are indifferent. Spiritually, it's obvious that black folk are very spiritual folk as well, which is why we also move differently collectively as well. We know that the foundings of this nation, it was founded by an entity. And we're not talking about physically, we're talking about spiritually. There was a certain mindset that was being utilized when this foundation was created. That entity spiritually still exists. I need y'all to understand, an entity that we have had to fight perpetually, at least over the last 400 years. So we see it differently because of that. We know spiritually what we're up against. We know what that means for our existence. We know what y'all are finding out and experiencing for the first time. I know it's a shock to y'all. We have learned to not only survive, but thrive in this type of climate.
So you can't be a good white person and put your body in between them trying to kidnap a brown person or harm a black person. When you do that, you lose your proximity to whiteness and you lose the benefits that come along with it. That's the cost. We're all acting so shocked that they murdered a white woman. Well, see, she wasn't a good white. She was out there advocating for brown people, so she lost her proximity to whiteness. This is the work of dismantling white supremacy. This is what it's going to cost. It's time for some radical acceptance. Because they've been out there killing black and brown people for hundreds of years. And people who looked like me were having picnics under black bodies as they blew in the breeze after they'd been lynched. And then 6 years ago, when they kneeled on George Floyd's neck, we all put a black picture in our Instagram, acting as if that were enough. In order to dismantle white supremacy, we have to be willing to lose the benefits of whiteness. Means they kill us too. That's what that means. And it's time for some radical acceptance about that, guys. That's what it's going to take to dismantle white supremacy, is losing the benefits of the system. So we can't be so shocked as white people continue to die. Because we weren't this shocked when black and brown people were dying. Because we expected it. Not because we weren't grieving, but we expected it, right? You should expect it. We have to lose the benefits of the system if we want to tear the system down. White supremacy has been killing black and brown folks. And it's not going to go down without a fight. So if you lose your proximity to white supremacy and whiteness, you will lose the safety that goes along with it.
The inevitable is happening. The thing we as black people have known all along about this administration in power, how our rights were being infringed on, how the country would spiral, how women's bodies would be controlled, how education would be gutted, and how the rich would get richer and the poor would get poorer. Because the only difference between this...
You and I and everyone else who supported him, you wrote speeches for him, I campaigned for him, I mean, we're implicated in this for sure. But the question does present itself immediately, like, what is this? Was this always the plan? You don't want to be a conspiracy nut, but like, clearly there were signs of low character, we knew that.
There are aspects of his personality which are obviously not good and that we've mostly just chosen to overlook. You know, he's not a moral man. He's obviously not the greatest husband in the world. You know, cost of American lives isn't the motivator. It's just that Trump has moved on to other things because he has the attention span of a gnat.
And this.
And what American is this helping? Besides the industrial war complex, I just don't know. I don't understand. So yeah, that's what our president's up to, and it's fucking baffling.
isn't you had a change in morality or a different point of view. You're just now impacted. And what a spineless way to live. You say to yourself, I'm okay if marginalized groups are impacted as long as my positioning as a white person is unchanged in this country. We knew. So when you ask,
what does the black community see that we don't, that's allowing them to totally let go?
we saw you. We saw our parents and grandparents fight for their rights as humans. We saw how at every turn, the only thing people in America, white American men, and those white American women who feed into racism and the patriarchy want is capitalistic system where black people don't benefit, women stay in their place, the masses remain uneducated, and America stays white. So yes, we knew. MAGA voters are speaking out against Trump. Farmers are watching crops rot because of tariffs, federal workers losing jobs they thought were safe, veterans seeing benefits get cut. But none of this is shocking because the policy didn't change. Their proximity to it did. This pattern is as old as oppression itself. If we go back to the Reconstruction era after the Civil War, poor white and black farmers were in the same economic boats, exploited by the same landowners, crushed by the same debt systems. They actually started organizing together. The populist movement was building real cross-racial working class power. But the planter class got panicked. They did not want poor people joining up against wealthy people. So they did what ruling classes always do. They offered poor white farmers something black farmers couldn't have: social status. The feeling of being above somebody. Jim Crow wasn't just about hate. It was a political strategy to break solidarity before it became a threat, and it worked. Poor white Southerners voted against their own economic interests for generations, even until today, because they were giving the psychological wage of whiteness instead of actual wages. Fast forward to the New Deal, FDR's programs of Social Security, labor protections, the right to organize were genuinely transformative. But to get Southern Democrats on board, they excluded the jobs black people were most likely to hold: domestic workers, agricultural laborers, left out by design. White workers built generational wealth in those programs. Black workers were locked out altogether. So when someone says the government used to work for regular people, it did. Just not all of them, and just not all of us. And these are the same sentiments of MAGA today. Ida B. Wells warned us. She said, a country willing to use terror against black people had already proven it would use terror as a tool, period. The weapon doesn't retire once it's done with one group. MLK said in a Birmingham jail, he wasn't just frustrated with the segregationists, he was frustrated with the white moderates who thought they could stay comfortable while injustice ran its course. Injustice doesn't run its course. Frederick Douglass understood that freedom, if it wasn't protected for everyone, was just a loan. One thing we know about loans is that loans get called in. But in this country, if we have built and defended the political infrastructure to protect minority rights when black communities were screaming that these systems were dangerous, everyone would have protections right now and rights today. Now we're watching tariffs gut the same farming communities that cheered trade wars aimed at protecting them. Federal jobs disappearing from the same towns that voted to shrink government because the cuts were supposed to hit someone else. The tools they're using on immigrants, on black voters, and now the white working class Americans, those same tools are now pointed somewhere new. You cannot outsource your freedom to someone else's oppression and expect to stay free. The only way any of us stay protected is if the system is built to protect all of us. America is in a very precarious place. And if we just believe black people, if we just granted black people equal protections and rights and freedoms under the law without the need for us to be in this centuries-long fight, then maybe, just maybe, we all would have adequate protections and not fall into a despot running our country dry while enriching his helm of billionaires. You ask black people, what did we see that you didn't see? We saw our story and our history. Stay black, stay blessed.
All right, so we are looking at the views of people talking about this whole issue of why the black people in America are not complaining about the difficult situation, the economic situation that people are finding themselves, especially the MAGA voters. Remember the current administration, when they campaigned during the campaigning time, they said one thing: they are going to make sure the whole of America is going to be great again. They are going to make sure they're going to lower the grocery prices. They're going to make sure Americans are getting their jobs because they're bringing the manufacturing jobs back in America. But fast forward to today, and we are looking at the grocery prices are very expensive. People are forced to pay double or even triple the prices. If you look at the eggs prices right now, they're very expensive because some of the eggs they used to get from Mexico, and of course as a result of the tariff war that happened just the other day, so prices are very, very, very expensive. Not only just eggs, even other products that Americans are so used to have in their daily activities. Now, when they look at their gas prices, it's expensive. When they look at job market, companies are not hiring, and also people are losing jobs every single day. And so they're looking at their utility bills, the insurance, health insurance, and many other bills. Literally everything has doubled the price. Everything has gone high, while the salary has always stayed stagnant. And unfortunately, in some cases, people have lost their jobs. So the question the MAGA voters are asking is, why is it that it's only the MAGA voters are complaining online and the black people have kept quiet? They are minding their business. They're going on with their lives. So they're asking this question, why aren't they complaining? What is it that the black people are doing that the MAGA voters are not doing? What is it that the black people are able to manage that the MAGA voters are not able to do it? That's the question they're asking. So that's what we are going to find out.